What if you could actually slow down the aging process? And I'm not just talking about things like skin creams or hair dye. I mean, slowing down aging where it really counts, at the cellular level. Now, I know it sounds like something straight out of science fiction, right? Well, what's amazing is that a groundbreaking new study suggests a key might be hiding in something you can find in pretty much any pharmacy. So let's dig in. First, I want to ask you a question. How old are you? Seems simple, right? But what if I told you that the number of candles on your birthday cake is only, well, half the story? What if I told you that scientists now think we all have two different ages? So on one hand, you've got your chronological age. That one's easy. It's the number of years you've been on this planet. But then there's your biological age. And this one is totally different. It's all about the actual wear and tear your body has gone through. Think of it as the real age of your cells, which is influenced by your lifestyle, your environment, even your genetics. You could have two people who are both 50 years old chronologically, but one might have the biological age of a 45-year-old, while the other could have the body of a 55-year-old. Okay, so how in the world do scientists figure this out? How can they possibly look inside your body and determine its true age? Well, the answer comes down to a really remarkable scientific tool. It's called the epigenetic clock. And no, it's not some ticking clock hanging on your wall. It's actually a super sophisticated test that looks at your DNA. Imagine your DNA is like a massive instruction manual for your body. Over time, these tiny little chemical tags get attached to different pages. The pattern of these tags changes in a really predictable way as we get older. By reading that pattern, scientists can estimate your biological age with, honestly, incredible accuracy. So you can really just picture it as a biological clock inside you. And for some of us, that clock ticks a little faster than the calendar, and for others, it ticks a little slower. And this, of course, brings us to the billion-dollar question that researchers are scrambling to answer. Is there anything we can do to slow down the ticking of this internal clock? And that is exactly what a major new study called the Cosmos trial set out to figure out. They wanted to know if some really common supplements could have a direct impact on this biological clock. And you should know, the way they designed this study was incredibly rigorous. This wasn't some small-time thing. It was a large-scale, randomized, placebo-controlled trial, which is pretty much the gold standard in medical research. They got almost 1,000 healthy older adults with an average age of 70 and followed them for 2 full years. Some took a daily multivitamin, others took a placebo, a sugar pill, and they even tested a cocoa extract just to see what would happen. So, the big moment. After 2 years of daily pills and super careful tracking, what did those epigenetic clocks have to say? Did taking a simple multivitamin make any difference at all? All right, let's break down what this chart is showing us, because it's pretty cool. Just focus on the 2 lines. See that top line? That represents the people who took the placebo. As you'd expect, their biological age ticked upwards over the 2 years. But now, look at the bottom line. That's the group that took the multivitamin every day. See how their line is flatter? It's not rising nearly as steeply. That growing gap between the 2 lines, that's the whole story. It is clear, visual proof that the multivitamin group was aging slower at a cellular level. And the researchers put an exact number on it. On average, taking a multivitamin slowed biological aging by about 0.11 years every single year. So, what does a number like that actually mean in the real world? Well, a reduction of 0.113 years per year, that's basically like turning back your biological clock by about 6 weeks every year. So over the full 2 years of the study, the people taking the multivitamin were, on a cellular level, about 3 months younger than the people who were taking the placebo. And just to be sure this wasn't some kind of fluke, check this out. This is the result for the other thing they tested, cocoa extract. Look at the lines for the placebo group and the cocoa group. They're practically right on top of each other. No separation, no difference. This really tells us that the effect they saw was specific to the multivitamin, and not just from, being in a study or taking any old pill every day. So the big headline is pretty clear. Multivitamins seem to work. But like with all really good science, the story gets even more interesting when you start digging into the details. Because the researchers wanted to know, was this small but still significant effect seen equally across everybody in the study, or were some people getting a bigger benefit than others? And this is where the results get really fascinating. When they crunched the numbers, they found something remarkable. For people who started the study already aging at a normal or even slow pace, the multivitamin, it didn't really do much. But, and this is the kicker, for the people who started the study with what's called accelerated aging, meaning their biological clocks were already ticking faster than normal, the effect of the multivitamin was huge. In fact, it was more than twice as strong as the average effect. So let's just pull this all together for a second. We learned that a daily multivitamin did, in fact, modestly slow down biological aging. The cocoa extract, on the other hand, did not. And crucially, this effect from the multivitamins was most powerful for the individuals who probably needed it the most, those whose bodies were already aging faster than their years. And while the overall effect was small, it was consistent and statistically real.
The study's own authors summed it up perfectly in their conclusion. They wrote that a daily multivitamin is a safe, readily accessible, and low-cost intervention that may slow epigenetic aging. That's a pretty powerful statement, suggesting that a simple, everyday tool could have a real impact on public health.
Which leaves us with a final, really thought-provoking question. We're all searching for ways to live a longer, healthier life. So could it be that one of the most effective tools isn't some expensive, high-tech breakthrough, but something that's been sitting on the shelf this whole time? This study certainly suggests it just might be.